Hello, hello, patrons. So this is pre-recorded. This is your second class of January 2025. I wasn't able to make it that we could be live together, which is okay because the material I'm going to be going through is extensive, so you can always pause and listen to it again and write things down and what have you. Um, I am recording this January 20th. I think the president is being inaugurated right now while I'm doing this. Um, I should be in Biloxi. Now, thank you everyone for your lovely emails and whatnot. My travel plans had gotten all mixed up due to the storms, due to someone in my mother's house was very sick. So I had to wait to see like who's all going to get this sickness, all sorts of different things. So the reason I'm sending this to you is because this is our class that would have been live on January 26th, but I needed to pre-record it. And I'm okay with this, and I'm hoping you are too. It's not like we won't be together again. With that being said, you might notice on my channel, my YouTube channel, that I'm also doing the same with a ton of videos. Just because I don't know exactly when I'm gonna be back, kind of what condition I might be in when I get back, I'm going down there to handle a lot of things. And this is not necessarily the funeral slash memorial. I'm getting word that that's going to be more towards the beginning of March, which I will keep you all posted because that means I have to not tra I have to travel to Illinois when now I'm traveling down to Biloxi. Oh, traveling. I really like my home, folks. So I'm a little, uh, so please keep me in your prayers, your thoughts, safe travels, well-being, all of it. So yesterday, which was Sunday, Lucky was so gracious to record with me again for what will be coming out Saturday for Esoteric Tea on the 25th. I asked Lucky before we started filming, hey, the patrons were all, we just started All Is Energy. You watched the video about, really start looking intentionally at how cells operate because all this metaphysical stuff is as finite and as small as a cell and as big as the universe. And take your own research into account, right? So I asked him, I said, I have not thought about it. Where should we go from there? Because all his energy can tap into all things, right? So Lucky suggested that I maybe start covering as above, so below. Because he said, you say it a lot, Courtney. And I said, I do. I mean, he was like, you say it a lot. And I do. I do say as above, so below, as below, so above a lot. Um, which is the principle of correspondence. I say, when you hear that, beautiful patrons, if you hear it in a class, if you hear it when I'm live, if you hear it in a recording, if you hear me say it at any random given time or what seemingly feels or appears to be random, it's because whatever I'm speaking about in that moment, the context that I am talking about can be an example or applied to that principle. As above, so below. As below, so above. And do note that as within, so without, that was added vastly later. Like later to the extent of I don't think people started using that until the 60s when New Age came back into play and they felt they needed to explain in simple words and attach that to the depth concepts that you got to study to understand it. So that is very new. The adding on as within, so without. I'm not in disagreement with that. It's that it was the initiates, the students that studied that already knew that. So they made it even easier for you. Uh, so I said, okay, yeah, okay, thank you for at least giving me a topic, Lucky, because I just couldn't pull out of the ether what to go, where to go. I have a lot more on my mind, right? So I set out today to go, okay, as above, so below, let's do it. And that actually led me to wanting to talk about something else first, to kind of bridge the gap of first class, talking about all that the cells, research the parts of the cell. You can find a lot of self-identity within the parts of the cell and what their functions are and how they operate. You can find a lot of your own self-identity within it. That is your research. That is what the homework really was. To think about this stuff, think about and meditate on as many cells as there are in the body. There are possibly universes, which I'm going to read about today. So before I begin the all or well, I was about to say all is mind, but all is energy into as above, so below. I'm going to kind of start bridging gaps. In order to bridge that gap though, I am going to be in two separate books. And because this is me pre-recording, of course, I'm not going to be able to stop and answer questions. Of course, I'm not going to know what y'all are thinking and taking in and how you're rolling it through your mind. So send me emails. Please do so because it really does make it so much easier on me to know where people are at so then I can explain things. Because even when Lucky and my husband, and there's some others, Geza, and some others around me, my trustees. I mean, I really do trust these people. Um, they do help to make me aware of the fact that I'm taking what is high school level, college level stuff, or even beyond that, and giving it to you not in the most conducive ways, as in it really does need to be piecemeal. And so, like how Lucky said, Courtney, you say as above, so below a lot with everything. It is in reference to whatever I'm talking about in that moment is an example that can be applied. But I also know that I'm not the best at delivering things in piecemeal. So, that is why your questions are so important. That's why emails with questions, with any thoughts, um, what you experience, what you're thinking, what you're questioning, all of it is good. So your questions also can help a bunch of other people. Because I'm not going to know. I'm not going to, and especially right now, I don't have the time to sit and ponder what people are absorbing or not absorbing. So definitely from this class, seriously, because I know what I'm fixing to read to all of you from this class and even the beginning of this series with all that cell stuff. Let me know if you have meditated. Let me know if you understand what I mean by look at the different functions of the individual aspects of the inner workings of a cell, as in you can also do some self-identity work within studying that, the whole self, the cell self, right? So today we are going to be in two materials then. The Kabbalion, okay, and this is a big book, and the Secrets of the Universe, or sorry, secret the secret teachings of the ages. Ooh, sorry. The Secret Teachings of the Ages, Manly P. Hall. Folks, this is a really big book. It's heavy, it's big, um, it's amazing. It's amazing. He did so much of the work for me. Thank you. Thank you, Manly P. Hall. Um, the research that I did real quick today to originally I was going to do as above, so below, but then that really leads into something else. And then I was going to hop over to Steiner, but then I realized that's not where we're at either. So where we are today is going to be that healthy joining of last week or last class into where we should go. And I'm also going to start at the very beginning of this, I'm going to start with the why. Why are we even bothering talking about this stuff? Why are we even bothering reading this stuff? Why are we even bothering looking at this stuff? And I think I told you last time, and I have not been able to do it yet, but I will tell you again. Soon I do want to try to become like an Amazon affiliate. So if I do put together a list of books, which I've kind of started it in my mind already, from very to like the basics, the fundamentals that people should already have or start books, which is beautiful because everyone in this community is at a different starting point, different level, different mindset of things. So it'll be like beginners, intermediates, advanced. Today is advanced. That's why I'm trying to say questions, questions, questions. Email me. When I get that list together, which I'm sure these books will be on it in the advanced section, well, the Kabbalion might be middle section, moderate. Um, do know I am going to try to put together as Robin Willis or Lewis, sorry, Lewis informed me, who is Happy Hippie in our group, that I should probably do that because then I can get links that if you're going to purchase these books, I get a little bit of a kickback because y'all, I do gotta, I gotta live. So, and I'm always recommending books, so why not? Okay. So what I'm trying to say is maybe if you don't have the Secret Teachings of the Ages, maybe purchase that one. I get a nice link and get a little bit of a cut from it. Um that'll be nice. Okay. So first I'm going to start with the why. Why are we doing this? Why are we even looking at all this energy? Why are you doing all the healing and studying and releasing and receiving and learning all this stuff and experiencing all this stuff? What is the point? Right? What is the point? Because there's no reason to keep going if we don't know why we're doing it. Because if we don't know why, we will fall out at some point. We really will. So we're going to look at the why. And currently we are in the Secret Teachings Through the Ages, Manly P. Hall. And we are going to start. I will tell you, it's interesting because I write down, where I'm going and the page number and whatnot. And by the time I get through all of my looking at everything, I always end up going from where I end and then going backwards. Kind of like how I told you to go through hermetics. You start with the last principle and work your way up, up to number one. Okay. So we are going to go to page 522 in, yes, 522 in the Secret Teachings Throughout the Ages. This section is mystic Christianity. As some of you may have heard on various episodes on the YouTube channel, I would consider myself, I'm not talking about anybody else. I would consider myself to be under the title of an Essene. And at Christmas time, we were mentioning how that was also the Magi. That is how I would, if we need labels, that is how I would identify my religious beliefs, which is not even a thing, but just in common language, as we all can relate to one another, that is the title that I would put myself under, as the scene, quote unquote magi. And this is just some excerpts, and they're mostly a lot in this section. They are talking about this scene and who were the scene and where did they come from and where did they live and where did they go and what did they do. So I'm just going to read a few sentences because then I'm going to jump into something else. This is still the why. So Jesus has been confused with the Christos, or God-man, whose wonders he preached. Since the Christos was the God-man imprisoned in every creature, it was the first duty of the initiate to liberate or resurrect the ethereal one within himself. Whoa, that just said a lot. The Christos is imprisoned in every creature? And the objective of an initiate, a student, a light bearer, a light worker is to resurrect, liberate the Christos within. All right, cool. Cool. They're talking about the scene here. They teach the immortality of the soul. The name Essene is supposed to be derived from an ancient Syrian word meaning physician. And these kindly folk are believed to have held as their purpose of existence the healing of the sick in mind, soul, and body. The purpose of their existence was to help heal the sick of the mind, soul, and body. So another word for a scene in ancient Syrian is physician. And this is just a fun little tidbit from the apocryphal Gospel of Thomas that y'all might not know, because Jesus did study with the scene. Actually, many people studied. All the philosophers we have, tons of stuff. And I will do a big deep dive into this scene. You guys chose this first. The Gospel of Thomas and also that of pseudo Matthew. I don't want to go into it right now, but there are many different scriptures for Matthew. The child Jesus is described as making sparrows out of clay, which came to life and flew away when he clapped his hands. You didn't hear that in the biblical scriptures, now did you? Now, little baby Jesus, little kid Jesus, was like, "Ooh, I want to see some birds fly," which there's a ton of symbolism with birds flying. I'm gonna make some out of clay, and then I'm gonna clap my hands, and they're gonna fly. Hmm. the Christos in every creature to be liberated, to be resurrected. The Christos in every creature. Shoot, little baby Jesus is making birds fly. That's pretty amazing now, isn't it? That's pretty amazing. So in modern times, as we live in modern times, the scene, their secrets, their ways of life, them, all the stuff that they would have taught little baby Jesus, who openly hid the Christos within him, was not imprisoned. That was the only big difference. Later in modern times, a lot of all of that becomes the cult, becomes the alchemist. But there are so many different fashions and sects of the cult as to what is tried and true, what works, and what is the even what were the alchemists trying to do? I mean, when most people originally hear of alchemy or alchemist, it's this fantastical thing of turning some kind of substance, mineral, rock, what have you, into gold. That's what a lot of people are first introduced to as what were alchemists trying to do, who were the much later generations trying to perfect what had been lost with the scene. The scene, I do believe, were still very present, but they weren't showing everybody. Why? Because the Christos had already tried to do that. And look at what happened to him. When the Alchemist, we are on page 102, still in Manly P. Hall. When the Alchemist stated that every adamant and inanimate thing in the universe contain the seeds of gold, they meant that even the grains of sand possessed the spiritual nature, for gold was the spirit of all things. Concerning these seeds of spiritual gold, the following Rosicrucians said this: a seed is useless and impotent unless it is put into its appropriate matrix. What? Don't we talk about how we're living in a matrix? Francis Hartman comments on this axiom with these illuminating words: a soul cannot develop and progress without without an appropriate body, because it is the physical body that furnishes the material for its development. So we have to have an appropriate body to help the gold, the seed, the soul flourish, develop, progress, and we have to have that appropriate body inside of a certain matrix. I'm going to continue for a moment. The purpose of alchemy was not to make something out of nothing, but rather to fertilize and nurture the seed which was already present. Its process did not actually create gold, but rather made the ever-present seed of gold, flame, spark, gold, grow and flourish. Everything which exists has a spirit, the seed of divinity within it, within himself, itself. The regeneration is not the process of attempting to place something where it previously had not existed. Regeneration actually means the unfoldment of the omnipresent divinity in man, that his divinity may shine forth as a sun, S-U-N, and illuminate all with whom it comes in contact. The why. The scene were doing the same thing, but they knew that here, to illuminate that sun within, that S-U-N, in this matrix, in these bodies of form, they had to be physicians of the mind, body, soul first. This is why we're doing what we're doing. This is why when we even came together first here with this platform of Patreon, we focused on healing first. And we will always consider healing, right? We will always be examining like a physician as to the why and heal and what's really going on. Because there is no reason. Jesus is described as making sparrows out of clay, which came to life and flew away when he clapped his hands. It is the first duty of the initiate to liberate or resurrect this ethereal one within himself. This is the why. So I do believe we can do this. We can do this. I'm going to help move into bringing kind of last week's class into this week and then being able to open the door for next time. Do remember to send questions, comments, all that jazz. Okay. You're in 182, still in Manly P. Hall. And this section is the human body in symbolism. So we just learned that because of the particular universe matrix we are a part of, we have to have this body of form here to help the soul flourish, develop, grow, process, all of it. It's what we have to do. It's how it works, right? Well, then, in this section, the human body in symbolism. What's going on with the body then? The body full of all those million cells. The body full of all those millions of cells that we talked about in the first class. Okay, so we are on page 182. Okay. It is difficult for many to realize that there are actual universes, plural, that their physical bodies are a visible nature through the structure of which countless waves of evolving life are unfolding their latent potentialities. I'm going to read that again. So in the first video, I know I was kind of I wasn't really being tongue in cheek. I mean, I really hope you all kind of meditate on these things, think about these things, research. But it was not, but I did not use any references. Well, here you go, folks. I'm going to read that again, and then I'm going to keep going. It is difficult for many to realize that they are actually, that there are, whoa, sorry. I'm going to read the exact words on the page. It is difficult for many to realize that they are actual universes, that their physical bodies are a visible nature through the structure of which countless waves of evolving life are unfolding their latent potentialities. It is difficult for many to realize that they, you, me, they are actual universes, that their physical bodies are a visible nature through the structure of which countless waves, vibrations of evolving life are unfolding their latent potentialities. I'm going to continue. Yet through man's physical body, not only are a mineral, a plant, and an animal kingdom evolving, but also unknown classifications and divisions of invisible spiritual life. This is where I went, because when you start with as above, so below, as I was going to, all of it will start breaking down all these different categories from the mental plane, the spiritual plane, the physical plane, and then all the subcategories within. I think this makes it a whole lot easier and it ties everything together. I'm going to read that sentence again. Yet through man's physical body, not only are a mineral, a plant, and an animal kingdom evolving, right? We are animals. We are made of this earth in this body. So we are plant, we are mineral, we are animal. All of those kingdoms are evolving in us, but also unknown classifications and divisions of invisible spiritual life. Just as cells are infinitesimal. I hate saying that word. It's a fancy word to say infinite to its finite self, like a cell. Just as cells are infinitesimal units in the structure of man, so infinite units in the structure of man, so man is an infinitesimal unit in the structure of the universe. So is man an infinite unit in the structure of the universe, the system, the matrix, that we have to have this body to be able to process, to liberate, resurrect the Christos. Just as cells are infinite units in the structure of man, so man is an infinite unit in the structure of the universe. A theology based upon the knowledge and appreciation of these relationships is as profoundly just as it is profoundly true. That's not me saying it, folks. That's Manly P. Hall saying it. That a study of this, a theology based upon knowledge and appreciation of these relationships, is as profoundly just, so right, as it is profoundly true. I'm going to keep reading. As man's physical body has 5 distinct and important extremities, 2 legs, 2 arms, and a head, of which the last governs the first 4. So the head controls the 2 legs and 2 arms, okay? The number 5, the 5th one, has been accepted as a symbol of man, the whole form. So, I put this down. Both legs, both arms, head controls the legs and arms, the body. And when we put it all together, that would be the 5th. Because the sum is no greater than the sum of its parts, right? But its 4 corners, the pyramid symbolizes the arms and legs, and by its apex, the head, thus indicating that one rational power controls 4 irrational corners. The hands and feet are used to present the 4 elements, of which the 2 feet are earth and water, the 2 hands are fire and air. The brain then symbolizes the sacred 5th element, ether, which controls and unites the other 4. If the feet are placed together and the arms outspread, man then symbolizes the cross with the rational intellect as his head or upper limb. So, many of you who have been with me for a long time, we have not developed all of the pyramid work that we can, because I'm still waiting for more people to really experience using pyramids. But when I said there's pyramids within you, I was not just making stuff up. Hands and feet, 4 corners. Head, the Ben stone, the all-seeing eye, all of it. The head, the point. Those of you who have taken private classes, maybe a workshop here and there, either in person or on here when it's not just a monthly class, it's actually a workshop. We have covered some of this, but this is now for everyone. Your 2 feet, earth and water. Your 2 hands, fire and air. I do understand what I'm teaching you guys. Well, imagine those spheres of glowing light in your hands, and one is bringing it in, bringing it out, bringing it in, bringing it out. All of that power that can circulate through, as in releasing and receiving, as we are also holding a pyramid within for this intentions of manifesting. I'm actually teaching you guys um stuff that goes very far back. Very, very far back, but it only can happen with practice, knowledge, understanding. And I'm trying to put it in practical terms that we can relate to, that we can use, right? Because I can read you could read this book. You could read, you can study, but it's not until we take that step into experiencing, even if it's little by little by little, and then we can expound upon that and expound upon that. If the feet are placed together and the arms outspread. So the living Ankh that I teach everyone, and so does my teacher, or, well, some of you would know that. I also use that as the Celtic cross when I'm teaching how to cleanse the body in any space. Love and light, S-U-N. If the feet are placed together and the arms outspread, man then symbolizes the cross and the rational intellect as the head or upper limb. And right now, January, and this is going to pop up periodically through 2025, it has been kind of this up and down between mental and physical, kind of not working so well together, pulling on each other because they are together in that line. The arms out like this, across, the cross, that is emotional and spiritual. This is mind and physical. Interesting, right? I mean, we just learned all those cells. I'm going to read that one line again and then I'm moving forward. It is difficult for many to realize that they are actual universes, that their physical bodies are a visible nature through the structure of which countless waves of evolving life are unfolding their latent potentialities. Doesn't Courtney just love the word potentialities? I do, folks. I do. Oh my goodness, I love that word. I'm going to move to 186. The spirit of man is diagraphically shown as an as a triangle with one point downward. This lower point, which is which is 1/3 of the spiritual nature, but is comprised to the comprised to the dignity of the other two, is much less than a third, descends into the illusion of material existence for a brief space of time. That which never clothes itself in the sheath of matter. This is where the Hermetics come up with this concept of overman. I'm going to keep reading and then I'm going to pull something up that you've all have seen a million times. So they just said the soul of a man, you could refer to or see it as it's an upside down triangle. This is where your chakra system comes into play. This is where the energy that moves throughout your body like a torus field comes into play, that the soul is only, or the spirit, the spirit of a man is 1/3 of the spiritual nature, is 1/3 of spirit, as people like to use, because we are going to get to that in a minute. Let me keep reading, because then I'm going to pull some stuff up, stuff that you've seen a million times. Why I use it. At birth, only a third part of the divine nature of man temporarily disassociates itself from its own immortality and takes upon itself the dream of physical birth and existence, animating with its own celestial enthusiasm a vehicle composed of material elements, part of the bond to the material sphere. 1/3, a third of your origin, a third of your celestial being, a third of this soul spirit being that people talk about, of the thing that, lives over and over and over again. 1/3 of it says, yep, I'm going to go down to that material place and be a part of that material world. At death, this incarnated part awakens from the dream of physical existence and reunites itself once more with its ethereal condition. This descent of spirit into matter is termed the wheel of life and death. The principles involving are treated at length by the philosophers under the subject of metaphysiosis. by in Okay, now he's just going into the different schools of thought. This law of birth and death is transcendent, and during the course of physical existence, that part of the spirit which is asleep in form is awakened without the intervention of death, the inevitable initiator, and is consciously reunited with the anthropos. That's a form of theology, or the overshadowing substance itself. Why did I read this part? Because I'm going to be moving into the overman and spirit. And how does it relate to these bodies of form that are latent potentialities that are supposed to be focusing on liberating, resurrecting the Christos within, because we can only really start to do that if we are in these physical bodies. So I'm actually now, oh, hold up one moment. I am going to go to, and for all you, I don't know, who would like to know this? The great Democritus, which was a Greek philosopher, to a certain degree, enlarged upon the atomic theory, oh, Olympicus. No, Lumpicus. Yeah, I'm not going to understand that. That's a Greek word. He declared the principles of all things to be twofolds, atoms and vacuum. Both, he asserted, are infinite. Atoms in number and vacuum in magnitude. Thus, all bodies must be composed of atoms or vacuum. Atoms possess two properties, form and size, both characterized by infinite variety. The soul was conceived to be atomic, as in you can maybe measure the soul, which scientists are still trying to do that, in structure and subject to disillusion with the body. The mind he believed to be composed of spiritual atoms. A lot of scientists are still trying to go, well, does this thing called soul have a weight? Is it actually comprised of atoms just as we are, but vacuum, or in other words, vibration? Is it just at a different vibration? So we have to mathematically weigh it out in a different way. All of this from man has is of many universes, to the cells, to the atoms, to you are a part of the earth in this body of form, to then this soul, only 1/3 of it shows up when we're here. Only 1/3 is kind of represented by this life in this body of form. Only 1/3. But yet the intent is to maybe expand upon that. I'm going to click on something before we go further. Let me see if I can just, here we go. All right. So, I'm hoping people can see this. I really am. Let me see how we're looking. Give me a second. Okay, cool. People are looking at what I'm looking at, I think. Okay, so as many of you have seen this a million times, um, this is a part of my whole pyramid of ascension, pyramid of self-ascension curriculum or thoughts, theories. This is part of it. And we just learned that the 1/3 of a soul would be down here, that very point on any chakra system that also might um, be associated with this stuff. This would be the root. The root. But yet the root gets full of so many things, doesn't it? Fear, shame, guilt, anxiety, desire, anger, hatred, fear, fear, fear. The root, as we just learned, that's where the soul ends up planting itself first. This is why the Christos would talk about so much of your spirituality is in the guts. That is also where your intuition is, which is right above what the chakra would say that this point is. The chakra system would say this point is the root. But then you have your second and third chakra, your guts, your intuition, then your third, which is your powerhouse, your point of gravity, all of it. And there's reasons why these masters spoke that way. And it could be from healing the chakra system, even into what Christ was trying to talk about, that you know who a man is by his guts. You know what's going on by what's happening down below. And this is usually, folks, when I would then say, as above, so below. As below, so above. Why am I doing that right now is because I'm demonstrating that when you ever hear that, because I appreciate how Lucky broke it down. I really do. I appreciate when others help me become aware of my language and speech, where people are at. Think of your body right now. Please think of your body. I'm hoping I'm looking right at you. Think of your body. We all have one. We all got a body. I would like you to put your probably your right hand, because most of you are right-handed, whatever your dominant hand is, on your forehead, your star consciousness area, your forehead, third eye, crown, your mind. Just put your hand on your forehead, which is the head that controls all the other parts. And then put your left hand down in your second chakra area, right? And you can kind of just rest it in there, because that is the chakra that moves things from the root to the third, the root to the third. And this is where most people bounce back and forth. They bounce back and forth. Most people do not get to anything to do with the heart. They are in the first three. Put your hand, just feel your hands. And now repeat. As above, so below. As below, so above. Repeat it again and acknowledge. As above, so below. As below, so above. And we wonder why it's hard to get those chakra systems and the energy flowing as it should, to be completely heart-centered and using this mind that operates this body, which you can use your mind to talk to your body, heal your body, tell your body what to do. It's your tool. But why is it so hard to expand the mind? It might be because of what's happening below. As above, so below. As below, so above. When I reference that, and anytime, because you're going to hear it again, I can guarantee you, I'm going to say it again. Like I said, what I am talking about in the moment can be applied to that principle. They are saying that the 1/3 of your soul, your spirit, what have you, because we're about to get into that, comes in and it's down at the root. Now, if you're looking up at the screen, you can understand why healer, mentor, teacher would overlap with the original victim consciousness chart. Now, this is a free class here on YouTube. It's the IWE1. This is, I've talked about it extensively here on Patreon and YouTube. You have to heal. You have to begin the healing. You have to be steady. You have to be consistent in all forms of healing. A scene, Syrian word for physician. That their main purpose of existence was to help heal the mind, body, soul. Because what happens is then this soul is down yonder in that first chakra. A third of the divine is stuck there, and it gets covered in the density 3D heavy fears, anger, what have you, shame, guilt, all of it. But if we can start healing and we can work our way out and we can start expanding and expanding and expanding and get that energy flowing and flowing, imagine flowing and flowing, healing, healing, healing. Now put your hands on your forehead and your second chakra area. Imagine the expansion of healing mind, body, and soul. As above, so below. As above, so below. Doesn't that bring a smile to your face? Even if you can just imagine if you have done the healing. If you have done the healing. And by the way, folks, and then you get to be like this. Then you get to be like this. And as I teach in the Pyramid of Self-Ascension, which I think actually the video might just be called that, the Pyramid of Self-Ascension. Oh, and then the IWE1 class that is free on Patreon is all the complexities as to why it's hard to not do it, all the complexities of why are we not liberating that divinity spark within, or why is it so hard to? Well, that video at least shows you, tells you. But when we do start to do that, we're in here. We are in here, and this can even go beyond. Now you're starting to work in completely different energy, completely different Merkaba energy, completely different higher thought, overman, the spirit. Let's go. Let's get to that. And I hope most of you are understanding what I'm saying here. Even if I'm saying stuff that I am trying to break down in like the most I think I'm breaking it down simple, but I might not be. So you do have to let me know. Remember, questions, thoughts, experiences, please share. At the same time, though, I do realize having the references do help. And so even though I've been talking about the pyramid of self-ascension, I've been talking about all the cells of your body could be potential universes. It's not because I'm crazy. Now you have reference. Okay, so now we're in the Kabbalion. All right. We are in the Kabbalion. And I can't remember. I apologize. Okay. So imagine if that 1/3 could be liberated and then expand and expand and expand and expand and experienced. This is from the Kabbalion, page 79. This is of the section that says the planes of correspondence. Correspondence is the principle of as above, so below. All magic, all manifesting, all that is, that you have heard me say a ton of times, is communication. It's correspondence. Page 79. Then there are a few advanced souls of our own race who have outstripped the masses and who have passed on to the 6th and 7th subdivision, and some few beings still further on. The man of the sixth subdivision will be Superman, in quotations. He of the seventh will be the Overman. Now, this is a bit of, now we're going to be stepping into what the next class will be more so on, but I'm introducing it because people talk about this higher self, spirit they're in communication with, Overman. That happens when in Hermetic teaching. We can go into vastly different schools of thoughts of this, but strictly in Hermetic teaching, they talk about these different spheres or subdivisions within the planes of physical, mental, and spiritual. So there's 3 planes with a bunch of subdivisions, subcategories. Let's say if this was an English paper and you were writing a 5-paragraph theme, or not 5-paragraph, but you were having to write an English paper. If you were doing an outline, the main topic are like the planes of correspondence, or as above, so below. One big topic would be plane of physical, which then all these subcategories, subtopics, they break it down. They do not, as I will tell you, they do not break it down well in this book. And they tell you they're not going to. They do not break it down good. That I'm going to have to do from other source material when we really try to get into this. But every single plane of physical, plane of mental, plane of spiritual has subcategories or subplanes, as they would talk about, subdivisions. This is also where we get the tree of life, the Anakaranana levels. This goes into Hindu, that goes into metaphysics, it goes into all tons of stuff. I mean, everyone's kind of operated somewhere within that. And we're at the bottom of wherever that is, the root, wherever that may be, on whatever your form of structure of study you choose. But there are some who have evolved, because that is the purpose of being in this body, evolved, processed, evolved, enlightened, expand, what have you. And in Hermetics, they need to get to at least the 6th or 7th of these divisions to then the Overman. Now, the Overman also exists, regardless. So we're going to jump to page 82. Do, 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 do. The intelligent student may recognize what we mean by this when we state that the meaning of spirit, quote unquote, capital S, spirit, has used by the Hermeticist as akin to living power, and animated force, inner essence, essence of life, which meaning must not be confounded with that usually commonly employed in connection with religious terms like Holy Spirit or ethereal spirit. To occultists, the word spirit is used in the sense of the animating principle. The animating principle, carrying with the idea of power, living energy, mystic force, etc. And occultists know that which is known to them as spiritual power may be employed for evil as well as good ends. Pause right there. I'm going to Come up here and I'm going to read something. They belong to the universe and are subject to this conditions. They are mortal, and their plane is below that of absolute spirit. We were still in the same concept. So, higher self, essence, spirit, as people like to call it. Not what they're talking about. They're talking about absolute spirit, the living power that flows through all, the animated force. Overman, higher self, inner essence. This, those are what people are referring to when they're talking to something that they are calling spirit. I'm making point to this because because we're going to get into how does all this operate? How does all this work? Not in this class, but in many different videos out now on my YouTube channel, Stars of the Morning Light. We talked with Mary Jo last week about it. Lucky and I have talked about it. Sophia's been on the channel talking about it. What is spirit? Personally, I don't care what people say. Why I care though, because I don't care what you say amongst friends and whatnot, is because if you actually go to study, and that's what I do care about, right? If you go to read anything, if you go to read anything, when text is referring to spirit, it is not referring to what people are talking to, what they're in communication with. That is not spirit, it is most likely their higher self or their higher essence, which is even higher than higher self. Rudolf Steiner talks about this. We will get into it one day. Because as above, so below, as below, so above. I did it again, folks. So, when you go to study, you have to put that term into context. If it is hermetics, it is absolute spirit. What people might call, like in Reiki, that is what hermetics would refer to as the Reiki energy of universal spirit, universal energy, life force energy. Hermetics call it absolute. And then there are going to be times that you might be reading something and they're even talking about even bigger spirit that is not of the absolute, that is actually outside of the totality, which is what we try to refer to as like source. So the only reason I'm bringing this up is because spirit, that term, is going to be in various different readings that we'll have to cover, various different contexts, depending on those writing, teaching, what fashion sect are you in? Are you in Hermetics? Are you in the Essene? Are you in Egyptian? Where are you in your studies? Are you in the Druids? Because they're going to say some spirit stuff that is always going to be so much more of this natural plane. They will talk about some universal. Do you understand where I'm going with this? I will always have to I will put that into context. When we talk about soul, that is so you have spirit, absolute spirit, divine spirit. Father Spirit, Grand Spirit, Great Spirit, Holy Spirit, all sorts of spirits, because everybody's going to be saying something about a spirit in the natural plane and the universal plane. Everybody is. Soul, soul, in the majority of traditional um, metaphysical, spiritual teachings, occult or otherwise, religious or otherwise. The soul usually is defined in some way attached to the consciousness and or that gold, that Christos, that in which that needs to be illuminated, that in which that is at the very bottom of a inverted triangle that needs our help to expand and rise. That's what the soul represents, is that aspect of us that is of the divine at 1/3 of who we are. Big different concepts and energies, all of it. So that is not so much the teaching of now. That will have to be discussed in piecemeal over the course of all is energy, because the soul is energy, spirit is energy, mind is energy, body is energy. And why are we doing this? Why are we doing this again? I love the line, and I'm gonna read it one more time because I mean I absolutely love it. It's amazing. Not just the why, but this is actually I'm gonna read the why and then I'm gonna read the how. And then I'm gonna let you go. Because it's life keeps going. That's why life keeps going. All this beautiful life. And I hope this did help. It was the first duty of the initiate to liberate or resurrect this ethereal one within himself, the divine within. These kindly folk are believed to have held their purpose of existence in healing the sick in mind, soul, and body. It is difficult for many to realize that they are actual universes, that their physical bodies are a visible nature through the structure of which countless waves of evolving life are unfolding their latent potentialities. The latent potentialities. First things first, to illuminate, to resurrect, to release, to expand the ethereal one, the divine one that is within us. So then we can understand there are actual universes within us, that their physical bodies are a visible nature through the structure of which countless waves of evolving life are unfolding their latent potentialities. This is how we can manifest whatever we want. Latent potentialities in a physical body that is comprised of multiple, many, infinite universes. I love y'all. Take that in. Put that in your tea and drink it. Oh, we will get back to this, folks. And I hope it helped for me to read from things so you can understand where I was coming from the first video, which I laid out as simple as I could. You are the one that has to meditate, learn, think about it. This was to help back up that and then go into introducing as above, so below. As below, so above. Spirit and soul, mind, body, soul. All right, folks. I love you all. Cheers. Thank you for your well wishes. And I'll let you know when I'm back. I'll let you know when I'm back. I will. I'll let you know. All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks.